creates new demand, okay? It's not trying to pull from existing demand, it's creating new demand. Versus the red ocean strategy, which is a very crowded market. And then if you are going into a red ocean and approaching the industry that way, you go in and you have to pull customers or really come in and compete against many competitors. And usually what happens in that case is we compete based on price or distribution channels. And so when we find that niche for us with that blue ocean, it really clears the way for us to be successful right from the start. And who doesn't want to start a business and start turning a profit right away? I know I do. That's how I like to work. So just continuing on with the blue ocean, we talked about some of the ways to apply the blue ocean strategy. The first one we talked about is never use the competition as a benchmark. Instead, make the competition irrelevant by providing a leap in value and reducing costs. And of course, a great example of that is a Model T. The second one is reduce your costs by also offering customers more value. So the example that I used here is Cirque du Soleil. So Cirque du Soleil, I'm sure you're familiar with that, but basically if you look at where that came out of, it sort of came out of a combination of the circus and the theater, okay? So back during the circus times, where we still have some of the circus, it's just not near as big as it used to be, there was a lot of issues that they were beginning to run into that actually made traveling around the United States to do live circuses very cumbersome, expensive, margins were getting tight. And if you think about it, they had a lot of animals that they were bringing around, and there was animal rights and just the cost of feeding and hauling the animals, just the fuel costs. But also there was a lot of circus stars that began to be very expensive. You might even liken that to some of the movie stars today. That they would demand a lot of money to be part of the circus. So if you look at what Cirque du Soleil did, I'm sure there's a lot of things they did, but the things that I was looking at that I pulled out that was really blue ocean is they made it so that they don't have to travel around with animals. There's no animals in the Cirque du Soleil performances, okay? And where they are today has grown immensely, where they have dinners. I know they're in Las Vegas and all those things, so it might not be that same value that it was several years ago, but they did bring that niche, that blue ocean strategy out. The other thing, if you notice, is there are no stars with that. So like the circus used to have big stars that were expensive. You know, the Cirque du Soleil, they're all in costume, they're in makeup, so there really are not individuals that could rise to the top and be the stars in the show. So that's a really good example of reducing the cost of all the travel, animals, the stars, but also creating more value for customers because they were able to do it in the same space, not have to move around, probably more comfortable, and they added dinners and those types of things. There's a lot of examples right in front of us of blue oceans. So let's talk about the taxi cab industry. So when I would land, of course, all of us have used taxi cabs, but just getting to the Washington, D.C. airport, for example, and I would need to get a ride from that airport over to the conference center, and it was extremely expensive. Safety sometimes wasn't always there. I might be a little uncomfortable with the situation. Nobody really knew what cab I was in, you know, that type of thing. And here comes Uber. And they are in the taxi cab space, right? But they have found a way to reduce the costs and add more value. And it's amazing. So now when we land, you know, people are like, well, we'll do an Uber. So they really created a new demand, a new space that caused the competition to be irrelevant. So we'll talk about a lot more examples, but I think those are really good ones to share with the added value. So with the blue ocean, it is not about technology. Often the underlying technology is already in place. It just needs to be linked to buyer value and lower costs, okay? So if we just take the Uber technology that we were talking about, taxi cab, it did not take new technology. They have a great system to be able to call and to order and to get your name in the, I'm not sure what they call it, but anyway, so when you call, they know who you are, and I think you get rated and things like that. So that part is new, but the underlying technology with the vehicle was already in place. They just found a new way to apply it that created the new demand. You do not need to venture into distant waters. Most are created within the industry, not outside the industry. So we talked about the example with toothpaste, and that was a great example of what would appear to be a red ocean. And here's this is the worksheet that we use. So basically, you've got the red ocean, which is very crowded, okay? So when we talked about the toothpaste example, we might have, Crest, Colgate, Arm & Hammer, on and on and on. And then over here with the blue ocean was Sensodyne, or maybe Tom's Organic. And so while it was a red ocean industry, okay, they were able to find a way to create a product within this blue ocean that made this competition irrelevant. All right, let's think of another example. How about fast food places? So you might have McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, Kentucky Fried Chicken, all those. If you look at those, most of them are fried food or fast food, hamburgers mainly. And so it's a very crowded market. But then came Subway, right? So they took the underlying technology of serving people quickly, but they created a blue ocean where it was actually very healthy. Remember, they had the whole campaign where the guy was losing weight. And then the next example I use is there is a company that their whole premise is they might create subs similar to Subway, but their whole premise is that it's freaky fast, okay? And of course, that's Jimmy John's. So they took the underlying technology of a Subway sandwich and they added more value to it by making it really, really fast, all right? I'm sure there are so many things right now that you're thinking about companies that have examples of red ocean and blue ocean. Another one would be laundry detergents, all right? So if we just think about that, the red ocean, we've got, again, you've got Tide, we've got Cheer, we've got Arm & Hammer. There was all these laundry detergents. It really wasn't an industry that I would say needed more competition. But using the premise of organic and natural, there's companies that came out and created laundry detergent that were natural, right? And so another technology that just came out now is they mix the fabric softener in with the detergent, okay? So it wasn't that wasn't out there. It's not like they just did something completely brand new, but they looked at the technology that was in place. Okay, these products were already existing, and they found a way to merge them to bring more value to the customer. Those are examples of blue ocean. So if you're looking at a red ocean versus a blue ocean, here are some things that a red ocean has. These are some of the attributes of a red ocean. You compete in existing market space. You beat the competition, all right? You have to exploit existing demand. You make the value cost trade-off, okay? So usually what happens is you have to lower the price, and so you're going to probably give up value. And you align the whole system of a company's activities with a strategic choice of differentiation or low cost. So a lot of times what you'll see out there is you'll find maybe a product or a service that's really hit the market, and they have been unique. They've been in that blue ocean. And then they'll be purchased eventually by a very large company. And then when that large company purchases it, often what I will hear is I'll be like, it's just not as good as it used to be. Well, why is that? That is because they are now competing with that product in a red ocean. And the only thing that they can generally compete with is to lower the cost, which also often lowers the value. Okay, so there are blue ocean ideas that can come into the market, get purchased, and then all at once it's just not as good as it used to be. And that's because the competition is caught up, and now guess what? They're competing as a red ocean. The only thing that they can do is try to find a way to squeeze that price to keep the margins there. Now let's flip that to the attributes of a blue ocean. A blue ocean, you create an uncontested market space, right? You make the competition irrelevant. You create and capture new demand, and you break the value cost trade-off, okay? So you don't need to lower the price or reduce value. You can break that through this strategy, which, you know, really is a win-win. It makes you feel really good about what you're offering because you're giving people value. And in this situation with the blue ocean, you align the whole system of a company's activities in pursuit of differentiation and low cost. The red ocean was differentiation or low cost. This is and low cost. It brings it together. So let's talk about another example of a blue ocean. So I'm going to show you something here, and I will make this available to you online so that you can download this. Go to KarenConrad.net. And this is something that's called the scientific method process, okay? So when you are looking at a blue ocean, this is literally something that you can sit down with you and your team, and you can walk through the process of testing and in pursuing a blue ocean. What I'm giving you here is a way